We are 34 days from the election. You are watching a special edition of the MeidasTouch podcast. The vice presidential debate is here. Governor Walz versus J.D. Vance. In just an hour, the debate is set to begin. We will be watching it with anybody who wants to watch it with us on our Patreon. That corporate media, they don't want us to live stream it, but we're going to do. Last time on Patreon, it was great. We only have 10,000 spots, so join patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Join the exclusive watch party. I'm going to go out and say it. I think that was the good luck in the last debate, the Patreon watch party. I'm just joking. Vice President Kamala Harris had a clear victory over Donald Trump in the last debate. Donald Trump talked about eating dogs and eating cats, which became an instant meme. She got under Donald Trump's skin immediately by talking about his teeny tiny crowd sizes, and that's still in Donald Trump's head right now. In all of his speeches, he spends significant time saying, are you leaving? Are people leaving? They're not actually leaving. What you see is they are not leaving. He's also speaking in front of very small crowd sizes because he's so self-conscious of the empty seats and people leaving. She clearly got in his head right there. And the bottom line is that she came prepared. She studied his pathology. She did the things that we try to do every day here on the MeidasTouch network. She put in the work. She was an incredible debater. She clearly won that Donald Trump, though, and the MAGAs are whining, Donald Trump won, Donald Trump won. That's why he doesn't want to debate. And they go on and say, it was rigged. It was so unfair. It was 3 against 1. Well, that's what they've been pushing before the J.D. Vance debate as well. J.D. Vance was sending emails from the Trump campaign saying, here's how I think it's going to go down. They're going to have it rigged. They're going to team up on me. It's going to be unfair. They're going to say they win. Then Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz are going to have an incredible fundraising day. And that's part of the deep state dirty money. You all know that he said that from our reporting. We cover all of those ridiculous emails that he sends. And meanwhile, Governor Walz has been rather quiet, right? He's been kind of quietly putting in the hard work. And we'll talk about what we expect from both of them. But let me show you this at the outset. This was, of course, Governor Walz when he was selected as the running mate by Vice President Kamala Harris. We'll show you in a bit what he said on stage, but let me I'll show it to you right now. I'm doing a little weave. Here, let's show it to you right now.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
Well, they bring in Brett and Jordy. Brothers, welcome. Tell us, what do you think's going to happen this evening? Brett, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you guys. Great to see everybody here with us on this historic night, the first and only vice presidential debate between Governor Tim Walz and J.D. Vance. Guys, we came a long way since that clip, huh? That was basically Tim Walz's introduction to America, and boy, did he knock it out of the park. And you know why I think Tim Walz resonated then when he came out there with Vice President Harris and spoke to people and was making those jokes? I think it comes down to one word, and that word is authenticity. I think Tim Walz has an authenticity that basically comes through your screen. We could all kind of sense it. I saw this great video, by the way, of Walz yesterday. I posted it on my personal account. If you follow me, ooh, it was from an account. I know, right? It was from an account called We Rate Dogs.
Brett doing a Justin Timberlake on us, huh?
Hey, I mean, it's Brett. It's okay.
What
are you going to do? Bringing sexy back. So here's what you got. So here, and the video was We Rate Dogs, right? and it was Tim Walz, and it was like a simple video, right, of him walking his dog through a dog park. And just the way that Walz interacts with his dog, like, I don't know how you do not like how you do not look at that footage and go, that's a genuine dude. Like, this is a guy who cares about animals. This is a guy who cares about people. This is a guy who radiates authenticity. JD Vance's issue thus far has been the complete opposite. He is the opposite of authentic. Everything about the guy is completely fake, including his life story. Here's one of the We Rate Dogs posts that shows Walz going on the walk with his dog Scout. But we've seen time after time JD Vance go in front of people at different events, whether he's at a bar and asking a woman to take a photo with him and she rejects him, or whether he's at a donut shop and he tries asking the donut employees, how long they've been there. And he responds to everything by going, okay, okay. Oh, yeah, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm JD Vance. I'm running for vice president. Like, okay, you gonna order donuts, bro? Or like, why are you yelling at me? What's going on here? But here's the thing also. JD Vance is slick with these sorts of things, right? We've seen how comfortable a guy like JD Vance is lying, right? Just flat out lying. And historically, Vance has actually been fairly good in this debate situation. And Walz at least claims to be not as great in this debate situation. But I think that authenticity kind of overcomes that. And I think Walz's preparation overcomes that as well. And what I feel kind of going into this is JD Vance has so backed himself into a corner with his lies, right? He used to at least, say what you want about the JD Vance of the past. He used to at least call out Donald Trump. He was the original Never Trump guy, right? There's a song
called Donald Trump Hitler.
I'm a Never Trump guy. I'm a Never Trump guy. It's a song. He's featured in the song.
He got famous being the Never Trump hillbilly guy.
But now Vance has so backed himself up into a corner where he needs to defend the most despicable lies imaginable, like the lies about Haitian migrants eating dogs and cats.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to go all in with that stuff. So I hope Walz is at the ready to first pick his battles correctly, because we hear that the network CBS is not going to be fact-checking during this event. So that job will be on Walz tonight, to pick his battles and to fact-check where he finds necessary. And then it'll be interesting to see how Vance reacts to those fact-checks, because what we've seen from Vance is when he is confronted with the truth, he often lashes out. He uses words like, that's disgusting. What you said is disgusting. Like he has these outbursts at the press, and he blames the press. Like he blamed the journalists for accurately reporting what was happening in Springfield, Ohio, and tried to deflect the blame from himself, who was spreading the heinous lies that were leading to evacuations, lockdowns, bomb threats, and so forth in these towns, putting these immigrant communities who, quite frankly, saved these towns and were asked to come to these towns and live there legally, putting these innocent people at risk. It is the lowest of the low to see this guy completely transform himself like a chameleon into Mr. MAGA, Mr. Donald Trump, and bring all the horrific stuff that comes with it to him. But we're going to see that distinct contrast tonight of an authentic guy who maybe not be the slickest debater in the world, but he's going to be there with honesty, and he is going to be calling out JD Vance. And then you're going to have this venture capitalist, liar, chameleon, doesn't know who he is, trying to toe the MAGA line, backed up into a corner with lie after lie after lie, trying to defend the indefensible. I think that's kind of what we are going to see. Oh, that was a long intro for me. That was still an intro. Say, Jordy, how are you?
Great intro, because you hit the nail on the head. I'm doing great. I'm psyched for this debate. And exactly that, Brett, that's what we're going to see in tonight's debate. It's going to be someone who is very authentic. And look, when you're truly authentic, when that is your true self, that's not something you have to sell to the American people. It's felt, versus a phony in JD Vance. When people see this contrast, I think it's going to be quite eye-opening for the average voter here. And now I'm a little bit bummed at CBS for, I guess, taking the easy way out and not fact-checking, on what's going to be happening in the debate, leaving that up to Walz to have to do, which is just sort of a bizarre approach in general. But maybe we'll save that commentary for the after show here, because I think Walz is going to do a fabulous job tonight. I got all the confidence in the world. Well, and Jordy, when you really boil it down, it's authenticity versus phony. And that's going to be on full display for the American people to see.
And I'll say this, I think Tim Walz could handle his own here, fact checking or no fact checking. I think he will be there. But I do agree. It is kind of lame, right? I think these networks, I think they buckle to the pressure from people like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is still crying about the ABC debate where they gave him the lightest of fact checks. Like, no, actually, Donald Trump, people are not killing Democrats are not killing babies after they are born. Like the most basic fact checks, right? And now Donald Trump says we need to prosecute ABC. They should lose their broadcast license. Continues to whine that they were unfair to me. They were mean to me. Oh, they were so mean. They're meanies. They're stupid. He calls them stupid, and he says they should be fired. Like, it's the lamest of the lame. So it's upsetting when you see other networks kind of become afraid of just his petulant whining like a 2-year-old. But that brings me also to breaking news that we just heard, and I just recorded a take on this. You'll have the full take out either tonight or tomorrow morning. But Donald Trump has, on that note, pulled out of his upcoming interview on the 60 Minutes election special, meaning Vice President Harris will now be the only candidate participating. Now, Donald Trump was initially the first person to actually accept the invite from 60 Minutes, although now he is denying it. And Donald Trump, well, along the lines of what we were speaking about with this ABC debate, Donald Trump, his own handlers are admitting that he's backing out because he is afraid of being fact-checked. Let's look at the Steve Chung statement. Steve Chung is Donald Trump's weirdo spokesperson. I mean, like a weird guy, like weird, creepy, like weird weirdo. And so Steve Chung writes, fake news, 60 Minutes begged for an interview, like already a weird comment. 60 Minutes begged for an interview. They've done this every year for the past 50 plus years. Even after they were caught lying about Hunter Biden's laptop, like, you're still talking about Hunter Biden? What are we doing here? There were initial discussions, but nothing was ever scheduled or locked in. That was a lie. The interview was scheduled for next week. You just pulled out. And then here's the kicker. Steve Chung says they also insisted on doing a live fact checking, which is unprecedented. Like, do you ever hear what a journalist is, Steve Chung? Like you know what an interview is? An interview isn't Donald Trump going on Sean Hannity's show and just spouting whatever BS he wants. An interview is you answer a question. Sometimes you get pushback from the reporter. You answer their question. But the problem is Donald Trump has become so incoherent and his lies have become so brazen, and he lies about everything. Even the smallest things, like no one would expect a hurricane to happen in the middle of hurricane season. I think everyone would expect that. This is actually the time that those things happen. Donald Trump's lies have become so indefensible and so outrageous that his handlers, I think, are afraid to have him actually confront even the simplest of fact checks. I mean, remember when Donald Trump was like an hour late to that National Association of Black Journalists event? And then he ended up blaming the moderators and the event for having bad technology or something. Donald Trump was late because he got in a screaming match with the moderators backstage over fact checking. He refused to participate at first because of fact checking. They got into a little game of chicken, and here we are. There we were. It was a complete disaster. And I think they're afraid of having another disaster yet again. And so that's the breaking news. I also want to give you a little bit of housekeeping right now about our stream to remind you where you're going to be able to watch tonight's debate, the historic debate. We're doing an exclusive watch party at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. So come hang with us. We'll be watching along with you. We did it with the presidential debate on ABC. It was a whole lot of fun. We really did have like a party in there. And when VP Harris was kicking his butt, to say the least, it was fun watching it with all you in our watch party. That was great. So join us. You could become a paid member at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Our secret link is already in there, so you could join. Space is limited. So if you want to get involved in that, make sure you do it now. We're also doing another thing new.
The problem is that I'd like to stream it here.
Exactly.
I want to stream it here for free. I'm not trying to gatekeep this, but the corporate media won't let us stream it for free here.
And let me say something on that note, because we always email the networks, because a lot of these are like public services, right? These debates, and they allow, like all the other networks there, right? They allow all their corporate media buddies to go and air the debate. And then an independent network comes along, MeidasTouch, that's gotta say, getting more views than them online, and they get scared and they say, sorry, you can't air it. And so we need to find creative solutions in order to air it. And I want to say this also, because I know people will come back at us with this sometimes and they'll go, but this channel's airing it, but that channel's airing it. I just want to say, I'm not saying anything badly about any of these other channels. They all do great work, but they're doing it unauthorized. And what happens when you do it unauthorized is after the fact, most of the time, a network like CBS will come after the independent network or the individual who are broadcasting those things. They will issue a copyright takedown notice on YouTube. They will issue a strike against your account, which could take you off YouTube for like a week. And so we don't want that to happen here. Because we want to be able to go live tomorrow. We want to be able to do future events. We like being on YouTube and doing this network. So we don't want to risk it. And so just to give the lay of the land there. Another housekeeping thing, another cool thing that we're doing, and this is super new that we're excited about, is our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, is going to be on MeidasPlus.com. And this is our new Substack. And on MeidasPlus.com during the debate, Ron is going to be live chatting. He's got a live chat set up and he's going to be doing his commentary, and you could go back and forth with Ron on MeidasPlus.com if you sign up there. So I wanted to give you a lay of the land. We got a whole lot of fun stuff. I love adding kind of new things to our arsenal here, but that's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it. But we are super excited to be doing this in any way.
Remind everybody of the debate, the VP debate from 2020 between Vice President Kamala Harris and Mike Pence, who Donald Trump shortly thereafter tried to have killed, which is why Donald Trump needs a new running mate. I think that's an important context here, though. Huh? And maybe
that'd be great if
I wonder if JD Vance is going to get asked the question, does it concern you that the previous guy sitting here, the person who he was working for, tried to have him assassinated, and that's why you got the job? Seems like kind of a job hazard, doesn't it? And he should be asked questions about the January 6th insurrection. I want to see questions like this, but let's fly back to 2020.
I see what you did there.
Nice. Good job.
This is important.
Susan,
and I want to
have
add, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked about
it is asking too much of the people.
Well, Susan, thank you. Although I would like to go back.
I think we need to move on
well,
to the
thank
issue
you,
of
but I would like to go back.
In 1864.
Well, I'd like you to answer the question.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay.
We
Thank
still
you, Vice
learn
President.
from it, and I think
Vice
the
President
American
Pence, your
people,
time is
I want
up.
to say again, can be
Vice
proud
President Pence, I'm sorry,
of
your
what
time
we
is
have
up.
done. She has
15 seconds because
Well, I gotta
we're
have
trying
more
to
than
keep.
that. Look.
Well, I'm sorry, but Vice President
Look,
Pence, you've had more time than she's had.
The truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000
He said
a
he's going
year.
to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait,
I'm speaking. If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation, okay?
please.
Do you remember also in 2020 during the debates, Donald Trump concealed that he had COVID and also tried to kill then candidate Biden with COVID? Yeah. Like, I know people don't talk, like we give Donald Trump, not we, but the corporate media gives him passes on everything. Like, I don't know, how about that he concealed that he had COVID in the height of the pandemic, lied about it, and then like quite literally tried to infect other people at a time when there was not a lot known about the virus. But, you know, that's just another thing that the media wants to give him a pass on as well. But I thought it was important to reflect on the 2020 debate there. Look, I want to be very clear about my perspective here. JD Vance is an evil guy. He's a sociopath. He's a very smart guy. I don't want to underestimate that. I don't want to act like this is a stupid guy who comes in unprepared. He's going to be very prepared. He's very bright. He is a shape-shifter person. He can take on other personalities, and he will be a good debater. Now, the issues are he will come off inauthentic if Governor Walz can expose that. Now, I think Governor Walz is more authentic. I think he's probably less a natural debater, just being blunt about what my assessment is here. But he is an affable, likable guy who I think needs to still be Governor Walz. And the things that people like about him is that he is an authentic individual who smiles, who is kind of proud of helping people and being a public servant. He's not a typical politician and that he's someone from middle America who people can relate to. I don't think he should change that at all and try to become the prosecutor, for example, right? The prosecutor v. felon dynamic works in a debate between a prosecutor v. felon. Here, you should have an authentic, likable, honest, truthful guy in Governor Walz against J.D. Vance, who I hope comes off like an arrogant, crappy, inauthentic liar over and over again as he tries to put himself into a pretzel to justify trying to support Donald Trump's positions, which frankly aren't even his own positions. And his own positions are different from his positions 2 years ago, which are different from his positions 4 years ago and 6 years ago. You know, we will always give you the truth here on the MeidasTouch Network. So anybody who underestimates J.D. Vance is doing so at his own peril, or their own peril, her own peril, their own peril, because he's a smart guy, sociopath, narcissist, liar, but intelligent and inauthentic and is robotic. So to me, that's the ultimate dynamic. And I know Governor Walz got a lot of prep from Pete Buttigieg. I know that J.D. Vance was getting prepped by Alina Habba, apparently. So I'd rather take the Buttigieg prep sessions. But I think that accurately describes the dynamic right here. We've had the opportunity to interview Congressmember Jake Auchincloss moments before we went live here. I changed shirts before maybe I should have worn the same shirt. I don't know. The other shirt was just, I decided to wear this shirt for whatever reason. So I'm wearing a different shirt, but I did it right before here. Let me tell you about Congressmember Auchincloss, because we like to be ahead of the curve here on the MeidasTouch Network. Okay. This is an individual who is a rising star in the Democratic Party. This is someone who has served in the Marines, in combat zones in the Middle East. He's trained soldiers in South America. He went to the top schools here in the United States and has devoted his life to public service. I can see Congressmember Auchincloss, one day, when I'm not trying to, make bold predictions, but I see Congressmember Auchincloss 15, 20 years from now as being someone, maybe even sooner, as someone who you're going to hear in the presidential discussions. And I think it's helpful to have him here now. One, talk about the debate when we ask him about that. I asked him about that. But he's someone who I want to keep having here on the MeidasTouch Network. And I hope one of the things that you appreciate that we're doing is we're speaking with current leaders and rising stars and candidates and everybody to show you where the pro-democracy movement is heading. And to me, it's less political and more about humanity. And I think that that's what's going to be on display this evening: humanity versus inauthenticity. It should be delivering for people versus J.D. Vance's Project 2025, taking from people. I want to remind everybody as well, those just joining us now, we will be having a debate watch party. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Corporate media is not allowing us to live stream it here. But just like we did with the Vice President Kamala Harris debate against Donald Trump, I don't know about all of you, I so enjoyed watching it with everybody. It felt great being with the community. I really enjoyed seeing the chat and making it interactive. I always want to watch these debates with people. Who better to watch it with than with all of you who have become like extended family to us here. And this community continues to grow. So patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We'll do the watch party together there. And now we'll show you the interview with Congressmember Jake Auchincloss, Democrat from Massachusetts. Here it is. I'm joined by Congressmember Jake Auchincloss, Democrat from Massachusetts. Congressmember, we've got the vice presidential debate this evening. It's pretty close to when we're recording this. I want to share with you right now, though, what Donald Trump's been saying pretty much all day and yesterday evening, kind of get your reaction to it. It's typical Donald Trump saying it's going to be rigged, but let me just show it to you. Let's play it.
And I just believe when you see the end of that debate, are you going to let that be the last word of presidential debates of this season, end of your career, or are you going to want one more?
I would love to have 2 or 3 more debates. I like it. I enjoy it. But they're so rigged and so stacked. You'll see it tomorrow with JD. It'll be stacked.
Saying this will be rigged. I would love to debate, but it's going to be rigged. Such a loser mentality, but I want to get your reaction to it.
Loser mentality is exactly it. America is a nation of can-do people, of entrepreneurs, of winners, of people who build things when it seems like the building is impossible. And Donald Trump is someone who, born on third base, thinks he hit a triple, and still claims the game is rigged against him. I mean, it's pathetic. And I think it's also boring at this point. I mean, it's been almost a decade of this. And I think there's only so much belly aching the American people can digest. And now we have to project it into the next 4 years and what waking up every morning to his self-lamentations will be like. I don't think it scrubs anymore.
One of the things that J.D. Vance has been pushing over and over again is this stolen valor claim against Governor Walz, who served admirably for a very long amount of time. You served. Would love to hear, your thoughts. Do you think that's going to be brought up tonight? How do you think Governor Walz is going to handle it? What's your overall kind of thoughts about, you have J.D. Vance pushing it, but you also had Donald Trump as well, making posts saying stolen valor about Governor Walz. I'd love to get your reaction to it.
It's a vicious attack. It's an unfounded attack. And it's an attack that has been resuscitated from 2004 when George W. Bush, who did not serve in Vietnam, tried to did swift boat John Kerry, who served honorably in Vietnam. And the man who architected those swift boat attacks in 2004, Chris LaCivita, is now a senior Trump campaign official doing the exact same thing in 2024. Here's the difference, though. They're trotting out their same old despicable playbook, but Democrats are not the party we were in 2004. We are going to respond. We have been responding robustly. First, the facts. The facts are that Tim Walz served for 24 years in the National Guard, 4 more years than was required to earn retirement. He was debating about whether he should leave after his retirement and pursue a career in Congress, and made that decision before he found out about the impending deployment, wrestled with that impending deployment, but decided he could ultimately do more good in Congress, which he then did as the ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, helped expand access to the GI Bill, including mental health treatment for our veterans. He has everything to be proud of in his service. And this attack against a fellow veteran from J.D. Vance really is unbecoming of the uniform.
What are you looking forward to seeing this evening? What do you think your constituents want to see this evening in this very important vice presidential debate?
A spotlight on J.D. Vance with the implicit question of, do you want him to be next? Because if he's elected alongside Donald Trump, he is at least sort of presumed to be the heir of the MAGA movement. Now, that's ironic because J.D. Vance is a MAGA shapeshifter. He actually is not MAGA. He's really a neo-reactionary, and we can talk more about the weird set of beliefs that is contained therein. But what we do know about J.D. Vance, while he has been inconsistent on MAGA, is that he has been consistent in his denigration of women, of veterans, of immigrants, of the police. And we're in for not just years, but decades of a degradation of American civic life, and a kind of culture that makes it harder to raise sons and daughters in a way that they have role models to look to in public government. I think the more that Americans hear from J.D. Vance, the more insulted they're going to feel and the less they're going to like him.
Talk to us about what you just said, though. You made the distinction, like now he's shape-shifted to this MAGA persona, but you mentioned being kind of a neo-reactionary to really whatever he views as the current kind of zeitgeist moment to shock people or to get attention for himself. And he's kind of created for himself over his life. He has a number of different names, but actually a number of different personalities as well. Can you speak to that? And what do you think the American people need to know about that?
Yeah, so neo-reactionary thought is sort of a fusion between the weirdnesses of online message boards with the money of Peter Thiel and the Silicon Valley tech crowd. Peter Thiel has funded a number of candidates and causes within the vein of neo-reactionary thought. And neo-reactionary thought really is looking to hasten the decline of U.S. democratic institutions and the rules-based international order that has been elevated since World War II. Make America great again right, is all about restoring some conceived past glory. It's about nostalgia. Neo-reactionary is actually about hastening the decline of the United States so that something can be rebuilt from those ashes. And what they seek to rebuild from those ashes is really a group of autonomous city-states led by corporate CEOs. It's kind of like a mix between Game of Thrones and the incel movement online. And they want it to be really male-led and hierarchical, and they have no interest in this core idea of individual rights and rule of law. This is a major zeitgeist of a lot of online chatter, and regrettably, it has managed to metastasize from the fringes of message boards into a Peter Thiel portfolio, and from there into J.D. Vance as a candidate for vice president of the United States.
With all of the devastation of the recent Hurricane Helene, Donald Trump gave this press conference where he literally, I think, used the bricks that were part of the rubble of a nearby store to do this stunt in Valdosta, Georgia. And he gave this press conference and he said, nobody ever knew anything like this could ever possibly happen. Let me just show you what he said yesterday. Play this clip.
Throughout Georgia, as well as North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Virginia, Alabama, and Tennessee. That's our big one. And the devastation wrought by this storm is incredible. It's so extensive. Nobody thought this would be happening, especially now it's so late in the season for the hurricanes.
Also sounds like with COVID when he said like a miracle, it's all going to go away. But, he's politicizing this with lies in areas that had never really been politicized before. When there was natural disasters, we'd come together as a nation. We'd want to make sure that the areas were adequately funded. President Biden reached out to all of the respective governors who all said that they got all of the resources that they requested immediately from the Biden administration. Yet Donald Trump's out there taking away resources from first responders, quite literally staging first responders around him in a crowd and saying things like that. What do you make of that, Congressman?
You're right. Natural disasters are not a moment for politics. They're a moment for the American people to come together and take care of those who are suffering or in danger. And this is disappointing, but not surprising from Donald Trump. He's going to politicize everything. He has no conception of country before self. It's always about what's my angle here? How do I extract as much gain for myself from this situation? I think we should no longer, be surprised by his behavior. But what we do need to stay focused on is his enablers in the Republican Party, particularly in North Carolina and Georgia. Because here's what I think is going to happen. I think Kamala Harris is going to win one or two of those states, North Carolina and Georgia. Donald Trump is obviously going to say it was rigged. And a big part of how we maintain a peaceful transfer of power is going to be Republican officials from North Carolina and Georgia contravening Donald Trump publicly, early, and assertively. And these guys right now, I'm sure, are shaking their heads about his politicization of the natural disaster. But the real moment of reckoning for them is going to come on election night when they must make forceful statements that the ballots have been tabulated fairly and he lost.
Congressman, you've served in active combat, you're a Marine. You are someone who, then trained others in South America in very dangerous areas. One of the things I was speaking to Congressmember Colin Allred yesterday, NFL player. And one of the things I was asking him is that, these MAGAs always have been talking a lot, and this goes to the neo-reactionary, I think, ideology that they're trying to spread, but indoctrinate the youth, talking about alpha, like alpha this, alpha that. And what I see happening, though, in some colleges, is that boys are being kind of stunted and frankly are not becoming men. They're perpetual boys and their behavior is this cosplay of alpha, but it's treating women with disrespect. It's being mean to marginalized communities and bullying. And so when I have people like you on, I like to speak to that because people like J.D. Vance are trying to co-opt this alpha and masculinity. And so I ask you what your response is, the same way I asked Congressmember Allred.
It's such an important question. I'm glad you raised it because you're right that young men and boys in our country are not doing great, and they are suffering. They are retreating into themselves. They are, I think, ceasing to be as productive members of not just our economy, but our society as they can and should be. And instead of opening up a healthy conversation about what do we want masculinity to look like in the 21st century and who do we want our role models to be for that, a conversation that could be bipartisan. Instead, you have the J.D. Vances and the Josh Hawleys of the world creating a zero-sum game out of it, where they say, you know what the real problem is? The real problem is in the last 50 years that women have made tremendous gains. And that is such a nihilistic and counterproductive view on the world. That is not the real problem that we have. It is not a zero-sum game. Men are doing better with and because women are doing better. But we do need to have a conversation as a nation about how do we uplift healthy masculinity. And someone like Colin Allred is a terrific avatar for that and a role model, and one of the reasons why I think you'd be such a strong U.S. senator.
Finally, I'm sure at the debate, both of the vice presidential candidates are going to be asked about Iran, the missile strikes on Tel Aviv, and what's going on right now. I think that one of the things we'll hear from J.D. Vance as well is a lot about Afghanistan. And I'm reminded of this clip that we had put out in the MeidasTouch network back in 2001, talking about what Donald Trump was saying in February 2020 with Afghanistan. I forgot that we had put out this clip back then, but let me play it for you. And then I want to hear your overall thoughts when that foreign policy question comes up tonight. What do you think the response should be? Let's play the clip first.
I'll be meeting personally with Taliban leaders in the not too distant future. And we'll be very much hoping that they will be doing what they say they're going to be doing. They will be killing terrorists. They will be killing some very bad people. We want to bring our people back home. We've killed ISIS fighters by the thousands. And likewise in Afghanistan, but now it's time for somebody else to do that work, and that'll be the Taliban. And I really believe the Taliban wants to do something to show that we're not all wasting time.
Congressman.
Donald Trump got out negotiated by the Taliban in Doha and left Joe Biden a series of hard choices, decisions that were between bad and worse when it came to ending America's longest war. And Joe Biden made the morally courageous decision to end this forever war and allow the United States to refocus on strategic priorities in the Indo-Pacific and elsewhere. I would like to see Tim Walz tonight, if J.D. Vance is going to try to hit on Afghanistan, to not just play defense, actually, but to go on offense. Because the implicit question that emerges when J.D. Vance says, Joe Biden messed up the Afghanistan withdrawal is, J.D., what would you and Donald Trump have done differently about the withdrawal? Because the answer is going to be they would have left American troops there. That's what they would have done. And leaving American troops, there would not have been a couple thousand American troops hunkered down in Bagram, having fast food delivered to the Bagram Air Base. No, the Taliban were coming, and this would have required a surge of American forces, 50 to 100,000, to counteract that Taliban surge. And the American forces would have won those firefights. I can tell you, tactically, they would have outcompeted, outfought the Taliban. But then where would we be? We'd be 5 more years into this, $500 billion more spent, more American lives lost, still sunk in a conflict in Afghanistan with no political endgame, and distracted and disoriented from pressing conflicts in Ukraine and potentially in the South China Sea and, of course, in the Middle East. So the attack line for Tim Walz against J.D. Vance is, under your counterfactual history, J.D., you and Donald Trump would have America fighting in its 3rd decade of a forever war with another $1 trillion sunk and more American lives lost. And for what end? What are you trying to achieve there?
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thanks for coming back. One of our favorite guests here, and all the Meidas Mighty always says, we got to get Congressman Auchincloss back. So it's certainly great to have you here. I know the future is bright in the Democratic Party with people like you and leaders like you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
I'm telling you, that guy's going to be the president one day.
Rock star.
That was a really great interview, and you covered a lot of ground there too. I mean, from the debate to masculinity to Afghanistan, like that's It's quite the weave, Ben.
I try to weave. We are about 20 minutes away, and you hear my dogs in the background. They're absolutely thrilled and excited for the debate. The programming note, that's Taquito and Chaquito, you may hear in the background. Occasionally, you may hear a baby crying. Oh, by the way, on that point, thank you to all the Meidas Mighty who sent all of your wishes to me and my family and to Sochi. We're so grateful for everything that you've been saying. We're back right now, and we will maybe baby pictures in the future. But
Ben's got a packed house now between the doggies, between the baby. You're gonna hear the people in the hot takes. They're gonna be hearing a lot more.
Well, I had a decision to make. I was at an inflection point. The question is, do I buy a door or not buy a door? And the question, and so far I've netted out. Let's just invite everybody into my room right now.
Exactly. I say no door. Firm, no door.
I think the dog barking and the cry. I think it's all,
I'm also a little cheap. So I'll let you know if I buy it.
So you're like the Tim Walz of you're like the Tim Walz of hot takes. So that's
all right.
So that's pretty cool.
The programming note, a few things going on right now. Corporate media is not gonna let us stream this. They're gonna do takedown stuff if we stream the debate live. So what we're going to do, just like we did with Vice President Kamala Harris destroying Donald Trump in the first and only presidential debate, because Donald Trump's too scared to debate again, we're going to do a watch party.
Ooh.
We're going to do a watch party. We have 10,000 spots available at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. It filled up pretty quickly last time. So watch it with us. You can see our reactions. You can see our faces. We love it's comforting to me to watch it with all of you. I hope you all felt the same, but it eased me into watching the last one. So I want to watch it with all of you. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's the watch party where you'll be with Brett, Jordy, and myself. You'll see us. We'll watch it together. It will be a great deal of fun, and we'll be in the chat and all of that. Then we have MeidasPlus.com. And let me explain to you MeidasPlus.com quickly, because there were lots of people who said, Ben, we really love Meidas News. We love what Ron Filipkowski's doing, but people said this a little meaner than the way I'm saying it right now. But I'll paraphrase. Too many ads on the website. It's annoying, is what they would say. And, we said, look, we have to find some way to be able to pay our staff and our team. So we tried to make that available free. We're still going to keep Meidas News. It's there. It's still the main spot you can go to. It's free. I want to keep as much things free as possible. However, if you want that ad-free experience and also to have exclusive interactions with Ron Filipkowski, who I think is the best editor-in-chief of all of politics in all of the world right now, and that's not me being hyperbolic. I think it's demonstrated by objective facts and all of the stories he's broke this election. No one's broke more stories than Ron Filipkowski and their team. For that, you go to MeidasPlus.com. It's a Substack. MeidasPlus.com, and Ron Filipkowski's there. We're growing the Substack.
Ben, he's there right now, and so I was
a little
just
lonely
checking.
right there. There's always a handful. We're growing. We've got to start.
Ben, the chat is funny. Let's pull this up. I was just seeing some of the conversation. Some folks were asking Ron if we sleep at all. They were saying, "Does Ben and Popok do the brothers? Do they actually get to sleep?" And Ron is in there right now answering your questions. And here was Ron's response to the question of, "Do Brett, Jordy, and Ben sleep?" Ron said, "I think Brett sleeps from about 1 to 5 a.m. Ben probably 2 to 7 a.m., but he's older. Jordy doesn't sleep at all. Asen is our machine. We only let him out of the house. We only let him out of the house to bring his daughter to school." Is what Ron said. But Ron is answering people's questions right now, and Ron is going to be live chatting at Meidas Plus. So to do that, you go to Meidas Plus, you subscribe to one of the paid tiers there, Meidas Plus, and you'll see there's a big article right there on the homepage right now, and it'll have a button so that you could get into that chat. Go join Ron. Ron is one of the most brilliant minds in the space today, and it's like Ron has probably the best insights on just politics and kind of culture and everything that's going on right now. And the things that Ron says like months ago are the things that end up becoming like the major issues. And it informs a lot of our coverage, quite frankly, like for months, if not years. I think years, literally.
Years. One of about immigration.
Well, immigration certainly is something that Ron has brought to the forefront, but also a story like Laura Loomer and her association with Donald Trump. This is something that Ron has been tracking now for years, and we've been doing our reports based on that research and other research that our team has done, and we've been doing it. And now you saw in the last few weeks, you saw that Laura Loomer story become a very big deal and one of the leading stories. That all originated with Ron. Hey, speaking of the debate tonight, I mean, how could we not mention this? The whole childless cat lady controversy with JD Vance, that was from Ron Filipkowski. Within a couple days after JD Vance was named the VP pick for Donald Trump, Ron Filipkowski had that video on deck. He had dug it up. He released it. It got tens, if not hundreds of millions of views and became this movement, this childless cat lady movement. We have merch on our website at store.MeidasTouch.com that you could check out. The childless cat lady merch. There it is under my face right over there. Childless cat lady, store.MeidasTouch.com. Get yours. We have a limited supply of that. Hey, remember to subscribe to, look at all these graphics. These are cool. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that's become a big rallying cry of folks all around the country now. The childless cat ladies. I've seen, they did, I think, childless cat ladies for Kamala Zoom, like donating, Zoom chats and stuff. They have signs. People have signs up, childless cat ladies for Harrison Walz. And it's become a big movement. That all originated with Ron. So that's a long way of saying, go to MeidasPlus.com, sign up for one of the tiers, and be sure to chat with Ron. Throw any questions you have his way, and he's going to be giving.
Seems like he's answering anything. So
he's answering. It's like personal information. I'm looking. I mean,
Very
like Ron. I'm not sure that
because we just launched the Substack. It's like very intimate right now. So like Ron, like if you ever just wanted to talk directly to Ron, it's like a small lecture hall right now. It's like Ron and like 10 people. It's like Ron and 10 people. So if you want, I think they'll start being more, but Ron's having a good time. And then we'll be, you could weave. You can go from patreon.com/MeidasTouch to Meidas Plus. Anyway, let's go. Let's talk.
You got to see what Ron just said about you, Ben. Woof.
Well, deep tease. I'm excited for Walz tonight in the debate, brothers.
Let me give you my thoughts on the debate right now.
Okay.
I mean, to me, that too. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. To me, what this whole election is about, though, from the very outset, and how we've framed our coverage over the past 4 years, right, is that these are not normal times, and we're not going to normalize it. So we're not going to use traditional frames, right? Liberal v. conservative, progressive, independent. These terms that may have had some utility in a pre-Trump world, they just don't apply to the current moment. It's always been my thesis that what people are craving right now is normalcy, that this Trump stuff is exhausting. The word weird captured it well, and I think that helped the ascendancy of Governor Walz, because this stuff is weird, but it's also just dangerous, and it is exhausting as well. I mean, to hear somebody like JD Vance, as he's wearing his, eyeliner, and he's reinvented himself 4 or 5 different times with different names and different personalities, just make comments about families and people's lives and how people should live. The best part that I think Governor Walz said, better than weird, is just mind your own damn business. And under the auspices, but it was a lie, the auspices of freedom and liberty, the MAGAs infiltrated our homes, our sacred spaces, our bedrooms, our doctor's offices, our living rooms, our intimate spaces with their ideology of hate. And meanwhile, a lot of them are hiding some of the stuff that they're out there attacking. Quite a lot of them are hiding the stuff that they are trying to then attack over and over again. And that stuff keeps coming out over and over again. And so when I hear JD Vance say that childless cat ladies are a big threat, or the biggest threat to our democracy, it's like, how dare you? When you say, and JD Vance says, that the role of a postmenopausal woman is only one thing: to take care of their grandchild, and that is it. It's like, who are you? Why are you saying these things when they go out and attack Taylor Swift over? It's like, what are you doing? And we've seen this now for 4 years. The green M&M, is not sexy enough anymore for Tucker Carlson. And so they did a whole segment on the sexiness of M&Ms. Meanwhile, when we're dealing with serious issues and trying to solve serious problems, they go, oh, that's just some DEI stuff. You're just doing DEI this, DEI that. They talk about they do it. Burning books, taking away women's reproductive rights and women's freedoms, and gloating about it. I mean, this behavior I can never imagine would be here in the United States of America. So to me, this election should always be framed really as a pro-democracy, pro-normalcy coalition versus Trump and MAGA. And J.D. Vance is the heir apparent to MAGA. Even though he hated MAGA before, now he, just kisses Donald Trump's ass. Those are the words of Donald Trump. And now he's the heir apparent, and they're all behaving that way. I mean, you have Fox with people like Jesse Waters saying, oh, what Kamala Harris should have done was throw paper towels at people's faces. Ha 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 ha. Jesse Waters, that's what I think she should have done. She should have just thrown paper towels at people. That would have been great. Or I hear Jesse Waters say, the thing about Governor Walz or Tim Walz, he's not really a man. He's not athletic. And you can tell by the way, has he ever thrown a football? And I'm thinking, look, our lives are on the line. There are serious issues here. And y'all are spreading lies and hate and disinformation and things where we would all unite as a country before now gets politicized by this MAGA hate. I want to be able to have normal conversations with Americans and agree and unite on things, especially when it comes to natural disasters. You have Donald Trump lying about Hurricane Helene. Who lies about hurricanes? And just straight up lies and says, yeah, the Republican governors, they're not getting the aid that they've requested. They've all said they are, and that President Biden gave them the aid promptly, and then President Biden has to respond to that. But then the corporate media does a both sides thing, and people who are busy, who are relying on the media to provide accurate insights and information, they just hear both sides. So they believe that could be one accurate side of the argument when they're just regurgitating propaganda from a wannabe authoritarian. That is what is at stake. And Governor Walz, I believe, will clearly articulate that tonight. I think he shouldn't change who he is. He shouldn't try to change the persona or the personality, be the likable Governor Walz. I think you're going to have to be more patient than you would be with Donald Trump, who you could get under his skin in a second. But I just think if you do you, Governor Walz, eventually J.D. Vance will expose himself about who he is as he's asked these questions. I think Americans want calm. They don't want yelling and shouting. They just want normalcy. They're looking for solutions. That's what made Governor Walz a popular governor. He wasn't there taking away things or shredding, burning books, taking away rights. He was always pictured delivering things, delivering healthcare, delivering free meals, helping improve education. That's what he would do. So I want to leave everybody with that and remind everybody, the watch party begins in about 60 seconds. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's where you can watch it with me, Brett, and Jordy like we did last time. Corporate media is not allowing us to stream it. So please, I want to see you at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We will watch this debate together separately. You've got MeidasPlus.com. Ron Filipkowski's there with his small little lecture where he is. It's growing, though.
It's growing. It's growing.
MeidasPlus.com is our Substack. Join Ron. You can ask him questions. So you could do the weave. You could be watching us, and then you could be asking Ron questions while you're in both at the same time. Look, we're trying to find interesting ways to grow this independent media platform. We don't have anywhere near the resources of big corporate media. We don't have outside investors. So we're scrappy with it. And that's what we do. I want to thank all of you, the Meidas Mighty. Brett, anything you want to say before we go?
No, let's have a good debate, y'all. We'll see you in the watch party. We'll see you on Substack on the Meidas Plus. Make sure you sign up now so that you can participate. And we're going to try hopping in there. I also just wanted to highlight, Ben, your incredible interview with the FEMA spokesperson, Jacqueline Rothenberg, today on your comments. If you want to get the truth, not the BS, both sides coverage, but get the facts from the source, you can look up our video. It's called Trump Lies Instantly Debunked by FEMA Spokesperson. It is on our YouTube channel. I think it's one of the most important interviews, Ben, that you have ever done. So just wanted to highlight that. Great, incredible work.
And talk about doing the Weave Brothers. We're going to be back here too on YouTube after the watch party. So just want to remind everyone, we're doing an after show for the debate back on YouTube. So we're weaving.
Oh, well, we better weave on over to that party. We will see you guys soon. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the Patreon watch party, folks. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.